Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Lord, I meant go.
Go.
See, you screwed that up.
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine.
All right, whatever. I assume you guys will figure it out. You guys
Your brother
going
can complain about this now, and it'll be fine.
You guys
My
going
brother.
on Audacity?
Yes.
Okay.
We had the audacity to not use Audacity.
Yes,
And
yes.
irritate our two listeners, Jesse White and Jamie Teague.
Yeah, we're sorry, Jamie.
Who else was pissed? I know those two were.
I mean,
like, this is
I'll be
unfair.
honest with you. I haven't enjoyed the audio either, so I like giving them a hard time. But the audio has been rough the last several episodes. Thank you guys for being patient.
They
Listen,
haven't been patient, but thank you for not being
Well,
complete trash.
Thank you for those who haven't said anything for being patient.
Tim,
Those
you
who are
don't even
listening.
you don't even need to go further. I gave the corporate apology, and they just need to take that. So
All right, fair enough.
just accept it, and that's it.
The corporate
got it.
apology.
Yeah,
Could you run that by legal first? That would be good.
I'm legal also. I'm actually that department as well.
Actually, we just reassigned that to Eli. Eli is our legal team.
Okay.
Eli, you're on our legal team. You trash.
He is the legal team.
You are our legal team. That kid does not care about his father at all.
Well, maybe it was your son that called.
That kid does not care about his father. And this is Fathers of the Grind, so that's very fitting. That
Yes,
kid does
it
not
is.
care about his father. Hey, so I learned something today. Actually, I already knew this, but so I've always known that I married way out of my league. There's no question about that. But when you get family pictures and you just kind of see yourselves standing next to each other with high quality photos, you just go, "Well,
Yep.
I won."
Yep. So opposite of what you were just saying a second ago about the aging thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is definitely the opposite with myself and my wife.
Sure.
I've kind of like plateaued, and I'm kind of staying there until I get older. And
Sure.
my wife
I
enjoys
actually
it so
think
much
you will get worse once you lose your hair.
better. I think I will too. Yeah. Hey, have you done that face app? I look rough. I look like a homeless version of my dad on heavy
Oh,
drugs.
jeez. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Does your dad have hair though?
It's very thin, so mine's doing the same thing. It's starting to thin
Okay.
like his did. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
That's all right, man. I got other good things in my life. It's gonna
Yeah.
be fine.
Men
No.
can pull off the bald look, just not
So
women.
true.
Just not women.
Yeah, but here's my thing. I was actually going to say this.
That's actually
Like,
super mean. But
Nothing irritates me more than bald men on top who will not shave their sides. They leave their sides grown out.
Oh,
and they
no,
just
I'm
look
shaving it.
ridiculous.
Yep.
They
I'm
look
shaving.
ridiculous.
so like Kevin from The
terrible.
Office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get why, and there's
Yeah.
still guys who do that. Like I'm
Or the
walking
guys
through-
who still have the tuft, if they still have a tuft right in the top, and they
Yeah.
leave it there. They let that tuft just kind of float. I'm like, no, you
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Don't do the tuft. Let it go.
Yeah. No
Let it go.
tuft.
Do the Bill Burr thing. You know,
That's right.
just go bald.
Yep.
Keep a bad attitude about everything. By the way, his
That's
new
right.
special's hilarious.
Didn't
Paper
watch it, don't
tiger.
care.
Yeah.
Paper tiger.
Don't care.
You should care. The first like 15 minutes is just him just trashing on women.
Eric, you would actually
you'd love
agree.
it.
Oh, if he's trashing on women, I'm there. 100% there.
Dude,
You would love it.
you would actually love a lot of the stuff he says because
Yeah.
he always makes fun of anyone who could ever be triggered. He makes fun of women a lot. You would love it. You would love it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's popular. I'm surprised people haven't like destroyed him yet. He's sexist.
Yeah, he gets that a lot, but anyway. By the way, another couple things that I'm watching I gotta throw out there. You guys should watch The Boys if you haven't yet. We talked about this last time. Great show. I finished it. Fantastic show. And I am almost finished with another Amazon Prime show, who, by the way, Amazon Prime's kind of killing it with their original content. But their show Carnival Row with Orlando Bloom. Pretty good kind of steampunk fantasy. They set up some really cool lore. I have no idea if it's based on anything, but it's really, really good. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
So
I've heard I don't know the actress's name, but I've heard that she's not a good actress at all. I don't know. I haven't watched the show, so
she's okay.
Yeah.
Orlando Bloom does great. Like I always
Sure.
think of him
Well,
as just like Legolas, whatever else, but he does a
Yeah.
really good job with his role. Like he's got a pretty interesting character, and there's a ton of really interesting side characters that do great.
Yeah.
The main actress girl. I would say she's just okay. I didn't think she got in the way of anything, but she's just
Okay.
she's just not amazing. But,
Yeah.
yeah. But I haven't finished it yet. We'll see how it wraps up. But I am enjoying that. But that's because we've got this new little baby in the home, so I find myself watching more shows than I do gaming. So I have been able to play a little bit of Gears 5, which, by the way, why is it no longer Gears of War? Was that purposeful? Is that something in the story that I'll discover?
Because we as a society are lazy. A case in point, Dunkin' Donuts no longer goes by Dunkin' Donuts. It's just Dunkin' now.
Dunkin',
So,
right.
Because we can't just say an extra word.
Gotcha.
And that's where we're at.
Okay, fair.
Oh, I didn't even realize it's really.
Yeah.
I think I saw somebody talking about how it was called Gears 5 now, and they didn't understand why they took a war off. Because Gears, like the name Gears by itself, is stupid. Like, it's really dumb.
Unless
Gears
you
of
get
War
if
is
you get the
fun.
lore, you know that they are the Marines, basically, right? Like, they are soldiers.
Yeah.
So that makes sense, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really think about it. I just thought everyone shortens it to Gears, so why not just call it Gears 5?
Yeah, but normally companies don't do that. They're like, okay, but our name's still Gears of War.
I mean,
So it's
Ubisoft
weird that they're-
won't do that for their Tom Clancy games, which is annoying. I don't want Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Breakpoint.
Yeah, just call it Ghost Recon.
Tom Clancy's. Splinter
That-
Cell.
Tom
that's
Clancy's
like a-
not what's selling you your games. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's
Tom
not a single
Clancy-
game that it's like, oh my god, I only play this because
Wasn't he a super popular author?
He
Which is
was.
what
Yes.
they're all based off of?
He was, and I bet you that was part of the licensing deal.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
got to be it. But anyway, so I played a little bit of Gears 5. I'm very, very early on in that game. I agree with all the first impressions Derek had last week, where it's a gorgeous game. It looks great on the Xbox One X and 4K. The HDR lighting looks phenomenal. Cutscenes and characters are cool. Actually, I found myself really enjoying some of the dialogue in the main campaign. I think it's funny and well written and acted, and I think they're just continuing all the good stuff that they did in Gears 4. So I'm enjoying the little I've played so far. I think I'm in the 4th chapter of Act 1. So again, I'm very, very early.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying it. And they do throw you into real, quote-unquote, real Gears battles right away in the campaign. They don't make you fight through swarms of robots first. So those who complained about that in 4, don't worry about that. You get right into the thick of things pretty early on. But overall, I really, really like it, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. I'm actually kind of intrigued by story, and the gameplay is just as fun as it's always been. So
Story is, again, I haven't beat it, which I posted in Vodka that basically I tried to beat it because I wanted to get to Borderlands 3, and I got stuck on a bug. But I'm almost at the end because actually all Gears games have 5 acts, but I just found out, and I could be wrong, but so I read an article saying there's only 4 acts to this one, and I think it's because they made 2 of the acts bigger, more open, which is what we talked about last week. But anyway, so I'm actually almost at the end, but now I have this bug, and I realize I have to start 2 chapters back for me to have a chance to defeat this bug. Because what happens is you use your little automobile, whatever it's called, a skiff, and I parked my skiff not the way it's loaded, I'll tell you that, but I parked it and went into the area that you're supposed to go into, and it takes you 2 chapters in that area, and then you come back out and you have to get on the skiff. And my skiff is planted in the ground, the front is, and it goes straight out, but it's on a hill.
Sure.
So as you walk down the hill, the area you're supposed to interact with is up in the air, and it won't give me the button prompt to get on it. So you can't jump, you can't do anything. So then I was like, all right, I'll just run. It's annoying, but I'll run to the next destination. So I run like 100 yards away, and I hit an invisible wall, and I hear Kate, who's the character I'm controlling, go, oh, I'm too far away. I got to go back to them. I'm like, oh, God, game, you idiot. So then I go back 1 chapter, and I realize, oh, this isn't going to work because this chapter starts while I'm in the building, which means it's still going to load the stupid skiff the way I parked it. So I'm now going to have to go back another chapter and see if that will help it. Point is, I'm not doing it. I'm really annoyed. I'm really annoyed. I never get mad. Like, I see people complain about bugs in games all the time.
I never
like, "Oh,
get mad.
stupid."
You say I never get mad.
Okay, I didn't finish the sentence. I never get mad about bugs in games. but I'm annoyed by this. And I think I'm more annoyed because I have
You're enjoying
Greedfall, which I'm going to talk about tonight as well. Greedfall, and I have Borderlands 3. So I really wanted to just get through the Gears campaign, and now this is setting me back, and these chapters are kind of long. It's not like, oh, you just got to play 10 minutes extra. No, we're talking about probably another hour of bull crap. And it was a section that I was not having that much fun in, so I was like, I don't want to redo this. So the point is it's annoying, but up until that point, the story has been really well done.
Yeah.
Like, they start out kind of like really focusing on Kate and her issues, and her, like, you can tell they're trying to set it up for her to take the lead in the game and you to take control over her, so you do. And then, obviously, I'm not going to spoil it for you, Tim, but they resolve her questions pretty early on. They don't take that long. They don't harbor on it forever. And then the rest is, and I talked to Daniel about this last week, the rest is just playing it out Gears way. But it's still a continuation of what Kate discovers. And my issue with one of the reviews from GameSpot was he was mad because he's like, they resolved Kate's issue and then it just goes to a typical Gears story. Well, yeah, it's set in the Gears universe. And I'm getting tired of this too, so yeah, I do get mad all the time. I'm tired of reviews that say Borderlands 3 is just Borderlands. Oh my god, are you dumb? It's a Borderlands game. That's what it's going to be. Like, do you want improvements? Yes, which we'll talk about when we talk about Borderlands 3. But I hate the excuse, and I see it in almost every review. It's not like every once in a while. And it did it with Gears. It does it with anything that's part of a series. They'll just be like, Uncharted 4 is like Uncharted. You mean the game or the series that it's in, it's like that? So I get annoyed by how lazy these reviewers are. But that's what they did with Gears. They're like, oh, it's, they're changing things, but the story's staying the same. And that's not true. And then with Borderlands 3, which we'll talk about, there's similar complaints as well.
The issue, like, I know, it's because these people are, they're just so needy in the sense that they need, with these sequels, they need the wheel to be, like, reinvented. Reinvent the wheel.
That's why I'm annoyed
it's like,
by it.
Every single time, like, a series has gone on for a certain amount of time, and then it comes back, it's like, if they don't do that, reinvent the wheel, then it's then they just complain about it and they give it poor scores, and it's like, well,
franchises should evolve. Like, Assassin's Creed is a great example. What they did in the beginning, like the very first Assassin's Creed was solid, and then the improvements in 2, but they didn't change what 1 was. It was still clearly an Assassin's Creed game, but the improvements in 2 were just mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
And then it kind of continued on, and it started, like, staggering out. And, like, gamers were starting to complain, and reviewers. But if you like the franchise, they were still doing good Assassin's Creed
And they were
games.
still improving every time, adding new features in, fixing some of the jankiness, little by little.
Yeah. Little by little.
I think if you look at Assassin's Creed 1 through Syndicate, you see, overall, if we had it on a chart, it overall goes up.
Oh, yeah.
Overall improves, even if a couple of them kind of plateaued a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, I was going to ask you, when you talked about sequels, you're a big Final Fantasy fan, and that is clearly all part of the same franchise, and yet each one kind of does reinvent the wheel. So do you prefer an X2 type of experience where you can stay in the same universe? They did change the battle system, though, completely. What about 13? Did they change the battle system in those sequels, too? I'm just trying to think, what do you want in a sequel, especially as a big Final Fantasy fan?
13, 13-2, and 13 and Lightning don't play.
So they're all different games, basically.
I mean, 13-2 is more similar to just playing, like, a traditional turn-based RPG. It's not exactly the same as the first one, because then in 13-2, you could recruit, like, you could catch monsters and kind of have them almost like a third-party member,
and then,
from what I recall.
Returns a little more action RPG? Or...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like a solo RPG, so because it's just Lightning. That one's definitely the most different out of the three.
So they're kind of reinventing the wheel there with their games. I mean, so sometimes...
That's what they really like to do. They always talk about, especially with combat, Square always says with every game they want to do a different combat system. Like, that's something they specifically mention whenever...
But I think you can get away with that in a JRPG.
Sure.
You can't... Like, if The Witcher 4 came out and it was turn-based, people would be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Well,
Same thing with like Gears of War. If they came out and they're like, "Oh, this is a first-person shooter now."
Well, it's super interesting that you're saying that because Yakuza 7 is going to be a turn-based RPG now.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are super pissed, and then some people think it's cool because it looks unique and weird and it's different from before. So, I mean, it's all subjective.
And here's the thing.
The shift from turn-based to action is one that's much more accepted. Shifting from action to turn-based, people are going to be like, what are you doing to my game?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that. Honestly, you can't do that. Like, I'm
Well,
surprised Yakuza would do it. But even Resident Evil 7 caught a lot of flack going from third person to first person.
Yeah.
But they still pulled it off. Like, you can reinvent the wheel, which they didn't really reinvent the wheel. But Resident Evil 7 is basically like all the other Resident Evil games. It's just first person. But my point is that I don't think a game that's a sequel. Again, this isn't Gears of War, the Kate trilogy, where you could reinvent it and go, this is totally different story, this is totally different. We're going to change the gameplay, we're going to change it. Yeah, we're going to change everything.
Yeah.
This is Gears of War 5. We have, really 6 games in the franchise. This is the 5th sequel, though, and they're going to make it a Gears of War game. It's set in that universe, so it's going to follow that universe's story. It's the same thing with Star Wars. How many Star Wars movies do we have now? Like 11? And all of them are set in what? The same universe. They're not going to reinvent the wheel and be like, well, we're now set in a completely different universe and all these other characters. None of them existed. We're just changing everything. No. They keep it in the same universe. They just do different things, like subtle things with it.
See, I don't have a problem with folks who want something different. To me, that's fine if they want something different. But I think it needs to make sense. It needs to be a natural evolution for the series. I could see, like in Star Wars, that's a great example. There's been so many different types of Star Wars games. Your action adventures, there's been your turn-based RPGs, your strategy RPGs, your real-time strategy games, your full-on RPGs like Knights of the Old Republic. There's been all these different types of Star Wars games. And first-person shooters. So that one kind of makes sense. With Gears, we've only known one thing. And here's what I don't like. I don't mind people wanting something different. Sometimes I like a new take as well. But it's when it's just this vague, hey, this is more of the same. And I just want to, if I were in the room with him, I'd ask the question, what else should it be then? Like, what direction would make you happy? Would you like a first-person option? Would that change it for you? Then would cover-based even really work anymore? In the same way, like, they'd have to completely change their systems that make Gears. And so I have no problem with them changing it up, but it needs to make sense, and it needs to be a great experience. I would bet you, and I could be wrong, but I would bet you these developers over the years for all these various Gears of War games, I bet you they've tried a few different things. And maybe just briefly, but I bet you that they've experimented a little bit with, hey, what if we added these RPG elements with like upgrading your guns or your skills? And then I bet you that they've bounced those ideas around. But then,
well, of course, they're doing it in this one. They're just not doing it with your character.
Exactly.
They're doing it with a AI character.
I'm saying I bet you they had some ideas for loot and for actual armor you could upgrade and equip and new guns, and they decided to keep it simple. And I think to the game's benefit, they've kept it simple. I think that's a good thing. But anyway, I don't mind people wanting something different. It's just that vague criticism that's easy to just kind of yell from your computer. Is that one's pretty annoying. I was listening to a little bit of the Giant Bombcast from last week. Sometimes I love the depth those guys go in on stuff, especially on games that I don't play. So I really enjoy it at times. But there are times when guys like Jeff Gerstmann and some of those guys, they are so negative. He was talking about Gears 5 in a way that was just so annoying.
They're pretentious.
It was very pretentious, but it was also like he talks about it like it's just another throwaway side game and not probably the best looking game that's ever been released, which it probably is.
It's almost like I mean, I don't really watch his videos because like when he went solo, Jim Sterling, he just seems like he complains a lot. Yes. Like I don't think
that gets them views, by the way.
Well,
I mean, sure, I get it, but it just doesn't seem helpful.
Well,
or productive.
Here's the problem: if he were like that with every game, I guess that makes sense. But then they'll bring up some mobile game that one of them is playing, and he'll talk about how, like, yeah, that thing's all right. That's pretty cool. It's all right. And my mind is just blown at the approach.
All credibility out the window.
Like, I can understand you thinking a game in another medium's all right. That could make sense. But after the way he nitpicked Gears 5 and just kind of everything was just kind of shoulder shrugging. You could hear it in his voice. It was all just kind of like, yeah, it's just more Gears. It looks really good, but the story's okay. The story's all right.
Maybe it's just more expectations because it's a console game, and again, they're the fifth one in, or I guess technically sixth.
It's a combination of more expectations, like they expect more from these first party AAA teams, but it's also like Jeff Gerstmann just being a hater. Like that's just what he does. Like he just picks on certain franchises that he doesn't personally like, and he can't have an objective thought. The most objective thought
you know what he does like is he does like Mario Maker, so you and him would be buddies.
Oh yeah, it's
cool.
Really good.
We could be
that was his game.
We could be cranky old men together. That's his game.
That's like stupid to me. Like somebody who's like infatuated with something retarded like that, but can't enjoy something amazing like Gears of War 5. I don't. It's like
I'm sorry. Like, are you saying that Mario, one of the most iconic oldest game series,
trash,
is that word that you just said? That's insensitive.
Retarded.
You terrible person.
Didn't you call me retarded like a couple weeks ago?
Maybe I did, but
an F word.
It was before we started recording, probably, or after.
Yeah, but that was different. He was calling you that. You're calling Mario
sure,
a line too far.
Because he's an Italian plumber, and that's just racist.
That is a line too.
Anyways, the point is that a lot of reviewers are ridiculous, and that is one of my biggest pet peeves, and that's why I generally stay away from a lot of them. I do check on some in transition time, like when I'm going into like a new franchise, like Greedfall, or franchise, but a new game, a new IP that you don't have
Could be a
background.
franchise.
Like even if all the reviews came out and every single one of them was like Gears of War 5 is a 6 out of 10, like that ended up being the Metacritic, I'd still play it. Like I wouldn't be like, man, I don't know if I should buy this game. Granted, this one I got for $1, but point is even if it wasn't part of that pass, I would have paid the $60 for it. Actually, I would have paid the $80 and gotten the Ultimate Edition. So I know what I'm getting with them, even if it's a change. In Gears 5, I think the reason why I think they should get patted on the back is they really did change a lot. They changed the story, the characters, they changed the world, they changed even the way the game plays while still keeping it very, very familiar. I think they should get a lot of credit for what they did, except for the bugs. I hate their bugs. Like, I cannot believe how many bugs they have, and it's not just because I got stuck on one. There's just been a lot of issues with that game. Not just me, other people too. But, so I think
I haven't seen any yet, but I am, again, very early, so I haven't seen
there's a lot of annoying little, like, twitching and bullcrap where it's not loading.
Are you on the PC version for most of what you're playing?
Actually, when it got stuck, I was playing on Xbox. Okay. But before that, I was all PC. But I want to talk about Greedfall a little bit, because I know we're going to talk about Borderlands 3, and I really want to talk about Borderlands 3. But I think there's a lot of people actually interested in Greedfall, which I was shocked by. I was shocked by... And our group isn't very big, and then I'm in that gay girl gamer group, whatever. And that's not that big, but the ones that are in it, they were really interested in Greedfall. So there's a lot of people
people who have no context, they're convinced that you joined a lesbian gaming group.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how is it a gay gamer whatever girl group if it's a bunch of men sweating women?
This might be the most progressive thing Derek's ever done. Is being part of a group like this.
It is. It's a huge
right?
change.
Isn't it like a sausage fest? I'm
slowly allowing my personality to develop in there, and like eventually you'll see me get booted.
And I've seen some of it, and let me tell you, folks, it's not going well.
No, well, obviously. How could we have predicted that?
But it went well with Greedfall. I'm having some good interaction.
You gave someone a hard time, and then this guy came back to kind of his savior, and now you were like, hey, thanks for telling me what to do, John. Right away. I was like, uh-oh. Here comes.
Here comes the tight pantee.
Comes the charmer.
All pissed off. So, Greedfall. It's actually way better than I thought it was, and I was hyped.
This is an
I will
RPG
say,
game?
Yeah, so this is the game that kind of looks like if Assassin's Creed 3 and The Witcher 3 were hanging out together. Like the aesthetics looks like Assassin's Creed 3, set in that like time period.
Colonial.
Yeah, it looks like that. but it's not that at all. Like, there's a lot of magic. It's definitely like fantasy all the way.
Yeah.
It's just the aesthetics, the way everything looks is colonial. But basically, just to kind of give you all a setup, it's a third-person action RPG. It plays similar to like The Witcher 3, but not as good. Like, I'm not going to overhype this game. If you don't like The Witcher 3 combat, then you're definitely not going to like this. It does borrow some things from Dark Souls and stuff like that. Like, you can tell they're trying to borrow from that. But in the end, I would put it closer to The Witcher 3 as far as that goes. As far as the actual RPG side, I would say it's closer to your Dragon Age Inquisition. You have a party, so you're never alone. You always have 2 other characters with you. And you can fully, I love this, you can fully customize them and customize you. So you're talking armor, equipment, everything. And they all have their skills. You can play as 3... there's 3 types of gameplay styles. There's warrior, there's magic, and then I'm forgetting what the other one is because I have 0 interest in it. But basically, it's however you want to play it. Even if you start out as a warrior, if you want to switch it up, you can. But the game, the only negative I have of it so far, I've put 3 hours into it, is that it's janky in its movements, and it's even more janky than The Witcher 3. So I don't know how anybody could play The Witcher 3 and not say it's a little janky with Geralt. But it is more, to me, janky when you're just controlling Geralt in the real world than if you're in combat. I don't have an issue with him in combat. Is it as tight as Bloodborne? No. But I don't think that was ever their goal. I think they were trying to make Geralt like more real and how he moves. But I would say, like, what I'm talking about is, like, the camera, like, it's real sensitive. In fact, I had to turn the sensitivity of the camera down. And then I didn't realize this when I first started playing the game and made my pros and cons of the game. One of my cons was the jankiness of the movement, but you can actually move the camera back. So you can move it closer and back. And I pulled it all the way back, so my character's all the way up here, and I turned down the sensitivity, and now he controls a lot better. So the controls are decent. The gameplay is decent. Again, I'm not going to overhype this and tell people it's a must-buy now. It plays amazing. No, it's a $50 game for a reason. They don't charge you the full price because I think they realize, A, they're releasing it at a terrible time, but I think it's also because they realize we don't want to fool anybody. We charge $60 for our other games, and we got a lot of crap for that. Let's just set the bar a little bit lower. We've improved. And when I say we, Spiders, the developer, has definitely improved. Like, I think they finally have gotten it. And I do think they're going to improve beyond this. That's why I wanted to support them so badly, is because I want them to keep growing because they're making games that I'm interested in.
So you fire up Greedfall. Do you create your own character?
Create your own character, male or female.
Do you pick a class, kind of Diablo style?
Yeah, so I picked Warrior to start. Again, I can change it if I want.
Wait, after you pick, you can change in the game what class?
Yeah. So you can, and you can, you have your level up system, and there's like 3 categories you can level up, and they even tell you like when you'll get a point. So there's one every time you level up, you get a point, and then there's another 2 systems. I don't have them all memorized. That they'll tell you like level 4, you'll get another point. Level 5, you'll get another point, and then the next one will be a level 7, level 8. You know, so they let you know every 3 or 4 levels you get a point for this. To level up. So there's a lot of customization. The thing that I'm liking the most about it is the loot. I love all the loot. There's loot everywhere, and there's a ton of stuff you can do with it.
How's their inventory management then? Because that can ruin a loot-based game.
So far, I haven't had any issues. I haven't had enough experience to grab too much to be like, oh, like I think you have like the weight system like other RPGs have, but I haven't been overburdened yet. So
that was one of my least favorite things about the first iteration of The Witcher 3. They have since completely revamped and just vastly improved the menu and inventory system. So if you're playing it now, it's a much better. But anyway, that can be a major hassle.
No, I find it annoying. Fallout's the same way. Fallout's like, hey, you can pick up everything, but you're overburdened. Yeah. And it's like, okay, this is annoying.
Well, then don't let me pick up all these dumb bowls and pieces of bread and whatever random stuff on people's tables in their houses if it's not going to help me.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with this. I think there's a weight system. I'm going by memory, and I haven't played it in 5 or 6 days because of Borderlands 3, which I'll talk about. But overall, my impressions in the first 3 hours is really cool. So, like, it is a little slow when you first start because they start you on where the story. I'll give everybody kind of an overview of the story. Basically, where you're from, I don't remember the name of it, but the place you're from, everybody has like an illness. Even your character has like a patch of something here that's growing. And so there's this new island that they've discovered that they're going to send your character and another 2 players with you, another 2 characters with you to explore in hopes that you can find a cure to heal your home country. So you go to this island, and like I said, it's completely fantasy. So the first 2 hours, though, you're just running around your city doing like little errands. But here's where I want to compliment it. Even though they're having you do all these like tedious errands, they're actually pretty cool as far as choices. Now, they're not cool as far as there's not a ton of combat and stuff. You're just doing like kind of tedious stuff, like investigating, like, hey, where did this character go? Why has he disappeared? What happened to him? You're solving like a mystery. But the choices that you make, who you align with, and how you actually can break into places, that feels like old school RPG. It's based off of how you level up your character. So there's options to actually blow a hole in the side of buildings if you have, like, I think if you invest in science.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then there's lock picking. Like, I didn't pick lock picking. I don't remember what I picked, but I didn't pick lock picking. And the whole time I'm exploring, I go up to a chest and they're like, you have to be a level 1 lock picking. And it happened like 10 times. I'm like, dude, I should have leveled up lock picking. So if I ever start this game again, the first thing I'm going to do is get lock picking because there's a ton of chests that I want to lock pick that have loot.
A lot of cutscenes, a lot of dialogue. Are you digging that?
I actually kind of paid attention, and then I got to a point mainly because I just wanted to be like, all right, do they have good voice acting? Voice acting's solid. Again, I'm not overly harsh on this game. So if you go into it with, I expect this to be at The Witcher 3 and Dragon Age Inquisition level, then GTFO, you're an idiot. But
I'm going to need you to tell me the entire lore in detail of this game.
Of course.
Walk us through it.
Sure.
Who's greedy and just keeps falling? What's going on here?
That would probably be, I'm going to go on a limb and say it's mankind.
Yes.
Is what's caused them to fall.
I told you that, but that's fine.
But yeah, I think actually from the reviews that I've watched on it, I haven't watched a ton, but I watched a few just to get the gist of like, hey, is this worth me investing in? And they all said the story's good. Like one of the guys, I forgot his name, but he's the one that does like the 18-minute reviews, and he covers everything and its mom. I was shocked. I really was expecting him to be like, this is a wait-for-sale game. But the whole time he was doing the review, and he was talking like I am talking about the game. I mean, he's being realistic, but he's like, I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I loved every decision I was making. I wanted to keep playing. I wanted to keep exploring. I just love this game. And he said, buy it day one. And I was like, okay, I bought it day one. Thanks, buddy. But there's a lot to it. I think they released it at a pretty bad time. But I'm happy. I think my plan is to, if I can't play Gears of War, then I'm just going to keep going back and forth between Borderlands 3 and Greedfall. Like, I'm not going to put Greedfall off. Like, it's going to be a game I keep playing because it's that much fun. I'm excited. I'm now on the island. I'm excited to get out of the city of the island and actually explore the island.
And you're playing this on PC, right?
I am playing this on
And it's looking
PC.
pretty good?
It does. Again, presentation isn't perfect. Like, face animations, like, they're not horrible. Like, I think the lip syncing's pretty good. The problem is the lips are moving, but the eyes are like this. Hey,
just staring deep into your soul.
Yeah, they just stare at you, and I'm like, do you have emotions? It's like talking to my wife.
Maybe that's just how this society is. Maybe that's just how that world is.
She doesn't watch the show, so I can rip on her. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so it's solid. I would highly recommend this for anybody who's interested in RPGs. Support this game and give it a shot at $20 at least. You don't have to buy it now because there's a ton of stuff out, and I know a lot of you are cheap, terrible people.
Dude, this honestly sounds like a great, like, hey, Christmas break. I've kind of wrapped up the main games I care about, and this is one of the mini games that's sitting on this massive sale list that everyone runs during Christmas time.
Tim, I would believe you if you played Dragon Age Inquisition. I would believe
Which you gave it to me for free. So
yes, and you still
How have you not played? Dragon Age is a great series.
I have.
And I don't understand. Yes, I know, but you didn't get hooked, and I don't get it because you're like, I love The Witcher 3, I love this, and it's like, I'm not saying it plays exactly like The Witcher 3,
sounds a lot like me, thanks.
It really does. Yeah. But if you dove into it, I love The Witcher. But if you would just give it a chance, you would get sucked in by the lore, and even the gameplay is fun.
So for Greedfall, Daniel, are you sold based on what you just heard?
To be honest, I leading up to it, like when I first even had heard about it, and I don't remember if it was through Derek, if he had shared something, or if it was a random trailer that popped up. But I thought that the concept was interesting because it has that kind of colonial, like 1700s look, but like it's fantasy. Mm-hmm. Which, side note, I don't know if you guys are in the Colin's Last Stand Facebook group, but somebody had posted in there asking about the game, and they said they didn't want to play it if they thought it was going to be offensive to indigenous people.
What?
And I was like, and I commented, I was like, wait, how would this be offensive to indigenous people if it's a fantasy game? And I mean, I didn't see any notifications of any responses, so I don't know if anyone said
that sounds like the same people who thought, well, I think it's great that guacamole celebrates, it represents Mexican culture, but I wish that it wasn't just goofy. Like, we need to have a serious representation. Like, you all suck as human beings. So, all of you suck. All of you.
That's just a side note. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think the concept of it looks really interesting. It's just not something I have the time for right now.
It's got more of a Fable vibe as far as how it looks, and then even how it plays. Like, because Fable had magic, it had guns, and it had swords. That's
just maybe
exactly
not the same kind of
Greedfall.
cartoony look of Fable, right? It's a little more realistic looking.
Yeah. But as far as like the weapons and how it's set in like almost like Fable. A colonial type time, but it also has magic, and it's completely fantasy. That's what
I feel like they definitely should have waited for January, and then they could have taken those few extra months to fix the jank, and then like what other complaints would there have been?
They know how to fix the jank. I really don't. I gotta say this,
but I mean, they could.
I'm
try.
Not making excuses, but honestly, this is the stuff that I don't think we realize that these AAA games do so well. If you take any like mid-tier game, most of the complaints are the gameplay it's a little off, because I don't think these teams know how to perfect it the way these big companies do. And I don't think it's just a money thing. I think it's a talent thing, huh?
Does it look like it's mocapped, like, or is it just kind of like they kind of went into
I think so.
the
I think the movement's realistic. I think it's just sensitive. Like, if you're like, I want to turn left, he's like,
Oh, I certainly had an adjustment playing The Witcher 3.
You could fix that.
I'm a big Witcher 3 apologist, as you guys know, but I certainly had issues, especially in towns, trying to face the right direction to engage.
Yeah, Geralt goes crazy.
The right
he goes
NPC
nuts.
Or the board. Like, I certainly had... It was an adjustment, that's for sure. So I wonder with Greedfall, do you think maybe it's just an adjustment, and once you're kind of used... Same with the old Assassin's Creed games. Once you kind of acknowledge and understand where the jank happens, you can actually work around it and even
you can compensate for it.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, the jank hasn't been an issue in the combat, but again, keep in mind, I'm only early on, so I haven't really fought. I've fought one beast, but I even made a post about it. The beast was like so slow. He was like, he could hit you from far and close, and all it took was 2 shots to kill me. So he killed me, but once I figured out his pattern, it wasn't that difficult. But let's say we're fighting, I don't know how difficult this game gets, but if it gets really difficult, maybe the jank does become an annoyance. But I didn't notice it in the combat, because they have the Dark Souls system where you lock on, or even The Witcher does this, you press a button to lock on an enemy, and then you're just moving around that enemy.
Yeah.
And then you can dodge, you can attack, you can use magic, you can shoot your gun. So it plays to me fine. It's the jank that I'm noticing and I'm talking about is the movements when I'm running in a building, or if I'm trying to turn or something like that. But it's nothing like my God, I'm dropping this 5 points. It's just noticeable that I would mention it so people wouldn't buy it and be like, oh my gosh, this plays terrible. Well, no, and just give it a few minutes, but like to get used to it. But it's not at the level of a AAA, but it's not bad.
Well, there you go. There's your Greedfall overview. I'm actually quite interested. You got me interested in that.
Yeah.
The setting sounds really cool too, so I am intrigued by that. Speaking of fantasy worlds, it sounds like we've got some updates on Final Fantasy VII Remake. Apparently, there's some kind of big thing happening right now that I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
All right, boys.
Tell me what's happening and tell me why I should keep caring about this game.
So, like I said when I messaged you guys, we're going to talk about this for 3 hours, so just prepare your butts. Prepare your
Derek's
butts.
just going to start playing Greedfall over there.
Yeah, I'm out.
Okay. I actually took some notes. So Tokyo Game Show is going on right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's where they showed some more actual gameplay footage of Yakuza 7, because they had announced that it was going to be turn-based, and they showed like a little bit, but not a lot. So they're showing more right now of like the combat for Yakuza 7.
Is that already on the horizon for PS4? Are we thinking, or do we think is it more just?
I feel like it's going to be cross-gen.
Okay. But still,
I have a feeling
Sony
it's going to be a cross-gen game.
That's a Sony game, right?
I believe so. Yes, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yakuza? Yeah.
Yeah.
That should be PlayStation.
I didn't know if the
I'll be
Sony
right
owns
back.
those rights. They just have an agreement with the studio. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Well, it's Sega, right? Yeah. So I think they're just. I don't know. I guess that's just where it's been for a while, and it just continues to be.
I wonder if that's one of those things, though, that yeah, that's where it's always been. But could they ever? I know that even Sony has expressed some vague interest in. Hey, we're not afraid of putting some of our games out on other platforms. Maybe at least PC. I could see getting Yakuza games at some point. But anyway,
yeah.
I digress. Go ahead. What else are you hearing about? From
So obviously, and then mainly Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I took some notes just so I can be a little more specific. So they showed like a trailer, like of like kind of like new cutscenes and then some kind of gameplay stuff weaving in and out of the trailer. And then there was and I shared it in the group. There was just a straight 14-minute trailer of gameplay, which is super cool. I didn't watch all of it because I do kind of
this past year.
Well, it was like kind of wandering around and just fighting regular mobs, so not just a boss. But I didn't watch a lot of it because I don't want to just sit there and see a bunch of 7 Remake stuff before it comes out. I definitely kind of want to be surprised, of course. But the biggest thing that I'll lead with is, so you know how people were cranky about this being an action RPG? So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Because aside from easy and normal mode, they are introducing classic mode, which is just straight up turn-based. So this game literally has 2 completely different combat systems. So you can turn on classic mode, and it's going to allow you to, attack as you would in any RPG through menus. You don't have to worry about the movement, so you approach the enemy, and then it kind of will pull up the menus, and the characters move on their own. They'll dodge, block on their own. All that's done automatically. So all you're doing is just messing with the menus.
The back end systems like materia and stuff like that, is that still going to be a thing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I guess you would just equip it as you normally would, and you can still use those abilities. I don't know specifics because when you're playing as the action mode, so to speak, you're doing square for I think the normal attacks, and then you're doing triangle for like the special attacks. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that'll work when you're doing turn-based. They might have shown that in the trailer, and I didn't see it because again I didn't watch the whole thing.
Gotcha.
But I guess that will be the interesting thing that I'm thinking of, because those are more specific to like if you're standing. So Aerith has her triangle move is, I think was it Tempest? Something Tempest. It basically creates like a little like ring around her where if you're standing in it, then you can do magic indefinitely while that ring is on the ground.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know how that would work in turn-based, because if the characters are kind of all like not near each other, I don't know how that would work. But Anyways, but yeah, that was the main big thing that they announced, which is pretty amazing because now no one can complain about as far as the combat goes. Now you can literally choose an action RPG game or you can choose a traditional like either or.
It's a pretty big deal.
So,
although I wasn't really upset about the action RPG shift.
Yeah,
I know
of course.
A lot of people were.
Yeah, some people were cranky. So
my bigger thing was that they're taking what I always thought of as the just basic opening of the game, and that's that still bothers me that's the full game.
Oh yeah, no, I'm still furious about that. So, but I mean, you know,
the full world, and you do I like the whole story,
yeah.
the whole deal. So I'm still overall pretty bummed about that, knowing that I'll probably be a grandfather by the time that we get that experience in remake mode. But
well, you're bummed, Tin, but I'm insane with anger. So, but it is what it is, right? We can't do anything about it. So, unless we all just didn't buy the game, and then we just wouldn't
get. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm excited.
So what else are they saying about it? Was that? I mean, it sounds like that was the main reveal. Was there anything else that they had?
That was the main thing. In that second trailer, like I said, it showed some cutscenes and stuff. They showed Don Corneo, which I don't know if you remember. He's that creepy mafioso guy that's in Sector 6 when you're trying to get all the different, like the wig and the dress for Cloud to sneak in. Help Aerith.
He's in Sector 6, you said?
Sector 6, yes. Mm-hmm. Sector 6, to be specific, yes.
A little Freudian slip there. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, he is running a brothel, essentially. So.
That's true. They should call it Sector 6. That's true.
Yeah, they should. So they showed him, and I had to double check today because I thought they actually officially said so. A lot of people are thinking that Mark Hamill is voicing Don Corneo. It's apparently he sounds a lot like Mark Hamill, which when I kind of heard it again, I was like, I can kind of see that, but I feel like they would have announced that because that would have been a big deal. Be like, oh, Mark Hamill is Don Corneo, but they haven't actually officially said anything. So either way, the voice acting for that one moment of that character sounded pretty solid. So
yeah, sweet.
They showed the squats mini game, which is during that whole sequence when you're trying to get all the different pieces for the Cloud dressing like a woman. What else? So summons. I'll start off with the one main kind of bummer thing. Each character can equip up to one summon materia.
Oh, that's
so,
a bummer.
Yeah, you're just getting the one. And I don't know if that's going to be something that spans across all of them or if it's just for this part one because it's like the beginning of their journey, so they're not like strong enough to have multiple summons on.
Probably what it is.
Yeah. But that was kind of whatever. But as far as the way that they control during combat seems pretty cool. So essentially, what it is there's a summon gauge that when you're attacking fills up. So then once that fills up, you summon. It was Ifrit that they showed, and basically Ifrit comes out and he's on the battlefield, moving around and doing attacks. So it's all AI controlled.
Oh, okay. So
but he's on the battlefield.
It's not a big cutscene that does a set amount of damage or whatever. It's
you're
actually calling them in to fight with you for a little while.
Well, so it is that, but so you know how like I don't know if you know when you summon like Shiva or Ifrit, their attacks have like a name. So Shiva would be Diamond Dust.
Yeah.
Ifrit's is Hellfire. Yep. So when you summon them out, they do attacks, and then you use your ATB gauges to essentially unleash that special attack that they did in the past.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
So they do still do that attack, and I'm assuming you'd kind of have them come out, kind of, whack the monsters around for a bit, and then you unleash that super crazy attack at the end.
I mean, listen, as long as they get, like, Bahamut Zero, wasn't he in that one?
Yes.
And then, of course, you gotta have Knights of the Round somewhere, some point.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be till part whatever 7.
Maybe.
So
maybe they'll
part 16.
Dude, I still remember that night. We stayed up all night following all the instructions of where to go and what chocobo race to finish and all that stuff.
Yep.
We finally got Knights of the Round, and then we sat there and watched that. What was it, like a minute and a half? Like
it's long. It's not the longest summon. People always say it's like, oh, it's so long. It's like have you played Final Fantasy VIII? Because the last summon in Final Fantasy VIII, yeah.
Right. Well, for 7, I think it's the longest one.
No, it definitely is. Yeah. But
right,
yeah,
no,
that was.
I am still excited about this. I am. I truly wish that it were the full game experience. Because that game is so epic, and there's so many different areas you go to, and And yeah, so they're not even going to scratch the surface of this overall story. With just city.
And because I forget who it was the other day when I think Derek posted like, oh, Final Fantasy VII, like as a jokey post, but then I was going in there and I was commenting seriously because it's Final Fantasy VII.
You can't take a joke.
Nope. And and somebody was commenting something about the length of the game, and they're like, oh, is it going to be long because blah blah blah. So like they showed like some stuff that wasn't in the original. Like there's this one part where this dude comes in on a bike, and Cloud says something about soldier. So he's like, I think they're actually gonna like introduce, because like in the original one, Cloud's like, oh, I'm from Soldier, first class soldier, and it's like they never really showed any of the other soldiers. Like it kind of just seemed like it was Cloud, right? Yeah. And Sephiroth, basically.
Right. Yep.
So they're gonna, kind of give you more of what's going on in the world,
so
and what Shinra's doing
into the story to uncover some of that stuff, is what you're saying. They might.
Well, yeah, because I mean, again, Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett are part of this resistance group, Avalanche. They're what, eco-terrorists. So obviously they're going to be sending the big guns after them. The Turks also. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting things that they can flesh out that they either didn't plan on doing at the time and now just can, or they had in mind. Like maybe this is a lot of this stuff is stuff that they had kind of written down. Like, let's put this in the game, and they just didn't because of time constraint and budget. So yeah. And that'll be interesting to see those things and kind of that added context if it's done well. I hope it's done well.
Oh, yeah,
so
I agree.
But yeah, so pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. I mean, again, I'm still furious.
Or anything, right? Is it still coming out in the spring?
As far as we know, no delay. Just still furious about the multiple parts, but
get over it.
I'm starting to wonder, like,
I'm gonna punch you
because that is such a small section of the game. Like, is this gonna be a 10-part game?
I mean, what's interesting is I feel like Midgar is a small portion of the game, but I'm wondering if they flesh out so much, like maybe cutscenes that happen later on in the game where they discuss things. I'm wondering if maybe they can talk about it now to kind of flesh out the game now, so they have to do less explaining later. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Because they haven't really said like how many parts they're going to be. Because it kind of seems like they don't even know themselves, to be honest.
Well, and one of the things I'm disappointed about, before I've even seen the game, outside of some of the reveal trailers and stuff, I'm just disappointed that it's going to be the same setting for the entire experience. That's one of the things I've always loved about Final Fantasies, is this big sweeping epic where you're in all sorts of different lands and backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. And to be stuck in one city setting is a bit of a bummer, I think.
Well, so I'm pretty sure it was this new trailer also, and so in Final Fantasy VII, you're kind of, most of the environment are kind of slummy looking, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you're in the slums.
Yep.
There's actually a city above the plates. So like in the world of Midgar, the city of Midgar, you're like basically you're in between these two giant plates. Like, so think of the city almost like kind of like a sandwich. You got these two plates that are like below. You got the ground and then the plate above you. So you're like in between these plates, and all the cities are run down and grimy and gross and dingy. And then above the plates are kind of like where the high class people are.
Oh, it's like
so
like
the
Elysium.
sun is.
Remember that movie with Matt Damon?
Yeah. So exactly, yeah. It's almost sort of like that. So like it showed the trailer where you actually go above the plates and like the sun is shining and like the areas are nicer looking. So there's actually going to be moments in this game where you're not just down there, you're going to be in these nicer areas.
That's good. That's nice.
Yeah. So there will be some variety.
I really think, yes, they're going to follow the story as you guys know it for Final Fantasy VII. But I really think they're going to blow it up. And maybe I'm having unrealistic expectations. But what I mean by blowing it up, I mean not only like, oh, we're going to have side quests, but they're going to have like alternate areas that you didn't get to see in the original Final Fantasy VII that they're now going to be like, hey, this is what they were doing when you didn't know they were doing this.
Well, like I said, like they're going above ground to those other areas to,
So that's why I think it's like, everybody's like, they're only doing this first part, and how is this going to be a full game? Why are they doing this? I really think the only way they can get away with it is if they're blowing this completely up and creating an entirely new game, even though it's following the Final Fantasy VII storyline. Yeah. They're going to make it way more in depth than what you guys have ever seen.
Kyle Bossman from the Easy Allies used sort of this phrasing for it that made me kind of feel less cranky about it. I mean, again, still cranky.
Still cranky.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII is not this remake is not a remake. It's a reimagining.
Yes.
So think of it as this game not having existed before, and this is what they would create now. Yeah. Given the technology and sort of how they're approaching it right now.
How I viewed it from the very beginning. I'm not just saying it because you said that's what Kyle said. I'm saying it because that's why I never was upset. No, I'm not a Final Fantasy VII fanboy, but I always, from the very beginning, even the first trailer when they announced they were doing this in parts and stuff, I'm like, the only way they can do this in parts is if they're planning on creating something we've never seen before. Like, yes, we're going to follow the story. Yes, my kids are going crazy. I've heard that.
No, they've got strong
I wasn't going to say anything.
They've got strong opinions about this.
Yeah, yes, they do.
Oh my gosh. Alright, so...
Why can't Cloud Strife pursue his entire journey?
Why can't we just get the complete game now? I don't want side quests in different locations. But yeah, so I really
locations. That's what you're missing.
No, you want different locations if they're doing the whole game, but in the short one, I think they're gonna bring us to new areas we've never been to.
Yeah, that I'm hopeful for, and that's the kind of the saving grace in the back.
I think you're even gonna meet characters you've never seen, stuff like that. It's gonna be
I literally just said a second ago, there's a first-class soldier sliding in on a bike. You're not even listening to me. All right.
No, I completely zoned out.
You're a terrible person. I don't know why we're in this relationship at all.
But a great
parent. Because it's being in the background.
His parenting skills are top notch.
It really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, can we talk about Borderlands 3? Also, Tales of Arise looks amazing.
Dude, the Tales of Arise video looked stunning.
It looks amazing. But hey, let's talk about how great Death Stranding is.
Death Stranding.
Oh yeah.
No. Hey, but by the way, I did see that there's apparently a feature that they've added. When you're sitting there, you can look at what's the main guy's character's name. You can anyway look at him like you do with, like the Metal Gear Solid characters and the helicopter and stuff. And if you look down, if you focus in on his crotch for too long, he'll cover it up and he'll get up and hold your camera up and just punch you in the face. If you're staring at his crotch for too long. And so people now are putting like, well, why didn't you do this for quiet? Why were you allowed to stare at her and she didn't do anything? I'm like, well, she was a tease.
She's sure.
That was kind of why she was dressed that way.
Yeah.
They showed a couple weeks ago. What was it, during the Video Game Awards, where his character, Norman Reedus' character, when he's urinating, because that's a thing, you can literally just like whip it out and pee, but the camera's behind you. So if you try to turn the camera to look at his junk, he'll keep turning like the opposite direction. So
that's awesome.
So,
but if it was quiet, they would just let it hang out.
Yeah. Can I just throw out there though? I did finish Oninaki.
Oh, you
real
did?
Quick.
Wow.
So I finished that.
Worthwhile?
It's between okay and good.
Okay.
It definitely lost me in the if I was gonna split the game into fourths, because I guess that would work out. There's 4 chapters. The third chapter is kind of where it lost me a little bit story-wise. It did pick back up, but I mean, the gameplay is kind of repetitive, even though there's a decent amount of variety as far as the demons that you get that lets you use different weapons, which lets you do different attacks, so you can kind of strategize a bit. It's still pretty repetitive. It wasn't continuously fun throughout the entire game, gameplay-wise. So it's a pretty game. The story definitely has, I'd say, mostly ups than downs, which is funny to say because it's a super depressing game.
It's a very depressing game.
Yeah, very depressing. But I still enjoyed it. I just kind of going back to that conversation we had a couple episodes ago, I don't truly think it was worth $50. Especially compared to this $50 game that Derek just mentioned, Greedfall. Yeah. That, to me, even just the little bit that I know about it, sounds like a $50 game to me. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So, and I don't want to just break it down.
Why'd you buy it on?
You know. Oninaki?
Yeah, what was that about, Daniel? Why'd you make that decision?
Because it's Square Enix, and I'm just a stupid sucker. So
Yeah, the only other thing that I've been playing outside of, like I said, a little bit into Gears was Borderlands 3. So let's just jump in and talk about our first thoughts on this game. It's been a long time coming. People have known it was in the works, but it wasn't officially announced until this year. And, of course, we were all pleasantly surprised to hear it's coming out in September, which has turned into a very, very, very busy month. I, again, haven't gotten too deep into this one, but I was able to...
Doesn't get better, by the way, this Friday.
I know. Well, even this... I guess it is Friday. Link's Awakening and Ni no Kuni, which I plan on getting because I never played it.
Ni no Nana.
Are you going to buy it digitally so I can play it?
I'm going to get it on the Switch.
Okay, you're a piece of crap, but all right.
There's no trophies, Tim. Like, come on. What are you doing?
Sorry.
And no 4K, but okay.
But all right, whatever you want to do there, Tim.
I'm very excited that you're going to play that because that game is amazing.
Gamer.
I'm excited. It's one that I've always kind of wanted to, and I know that Ni no Kuni 2 took some slack for not being up to par. But the first one is just apparently, I keep hearing about such a masterpiece. It looks great, so I'm excited about that. You're right. Yeah. This next week is nuts. But Borderlands 3 is out. I've barely scratched the surface on it, so I've got a few initial thoughts on it. But want to get Derek to kind of walk us through what he's played so far of Borderlands 3. I'm playing on the Xbox One X, and I think overall it looks pretty good. But anyway, let's jump into it.
I gotta say, I want to jump in and say, I'm a little disappointed to find out it didn't hit native 4K, because that's kind of why I bought it on the Xbox One X. I didn't do any research. I was just like, oh, it's gonna hit 4K, and it doesn't. In fact, the video I watched on the comparison, they actually said the PS4 Pro does it better. I'm like, seriously?
Daniel's over there like, that's right. That's right.
Well, if you
That's
had
why
actually,
I never bought the Xbox.
If you had bought it on the PS4, I would have actually considered buying and playing with you, you schmuck.
I actually would have bought it on the PS4 Pro if I would have known it was going to run. It's just a small difference. Like, it's the same Ps. Like, it's 1800 Ps. Which is just under 4K by, 360 Ps. But those 360 Ps, I don't care. Y'all can make fun of me. You can tell. Because before I even watched the video, I was like, this don't look 4K. This don't look 4K.
Ps.
Then I watched the video, and I'm like, see, I'm good, man. I know my Ks. So, anyway,
your Ps is what you know.
Yeah, you know your PPs and your Ks.
But anyway, so... I just a little disappointed by that, but I guess I kind of understand, especially when you're doing 4-player and the world is, I would say it's a little bit bigger, but it's not even truly an open world game too. That was the other thing I was thinking, because I even went online. I'm like, is Borderlands 3 an open world game, or is it just open areas like Borderlands and Borderlands 2? It's just open areas. Like, you still have to load those areas and go into them, and then you unlock this. What looks like a big map, but if you really pay attention, it's all like narrow areas that open up into a little bit bigger areas. So it's definitely not truly open world. So I don't quite understand visually, and here's why I have a problem with it. Is you didn't even hit 4K, and then you're at 30 frames per second. If you switch it to performance over resolution, they automatically drop you to 1080p. So to get you at 60 frames per second, which is what I would want to play Borderlands 3 at, you have to drop down to 1080p. That, to me, again, I'm a snob, I'm not afraid to admit it, that's annoying. Especially since I could have bought it on PC and hit 4K at 60 frames per second with zero
Well, I
issue.
will say, my initial impression when it first loaded in, and of course, you get that classic opening sequence, and then you pick a character, and then you jump in, and just like you all expect, Claptrap kind of helps you through the first little area there. I gotta say, if you would have told me this is Borderlands 2 visually, for the most part, I'd believe you.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a huge jump.
It's not a huge upgrade.
So that's why I don't understand why they...
When was the last time you guys played it?
Borderlands 2?
I played Borderlands 2 like a month ago.
I played 1 and 2 within last year.
And that was after they 4K updated it. So they updated it to native 4K at 60 frames per second.
But I will say this. I do want to... I mean, visually, it's one thing. And I didn't expect it to be a huge upgrade. I guess I just thought it would be a lot cleaner and kind of sharper and something. I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about. It still looks good. It's still better animation.
Right away in the firefights, and maybe I'm misremembering it, but I feel like the combat and the shooting feels much improved. And I already
it's way
and
better.
I already liked
It's
it in the other
way
two
better.
games. Don't get me wrong. I thought
the other two were good.
The combat and the fighting feels much better, and
the improvements are definitely there. There are some setbacks to it. Visually, like I said, I'm a little disappointed, but that's more just because it's like, well, I would have just bought it on PC. I mean, I'm glad I bought it on the Xbox One X because Tim and I can both play it. I basically got it half off. So I'll eventually buy it on PC just if I want to do like a second playthrough. But I was just disappointed because I went into it, and it's my fault, but I went into it with the assumption, hey, you did Borderlands and Borderlands 2, like you remade them, and you remastered them, and you hit 4K at 60 frames per second. So even if you're not going to do 60 frames per second, I expected native 4K at 30. And you didn't even do that. So that's why I was a little surprised, because if you look at the game, visually it's an improvement, but it's the same art style. And I'm sorry, but that art style and that isn't harder to render than Gears of War 5. Like, Gears of War 5 takes a lot more, there's a lot more things going on in Gears of War 5 than there is on Borderlands 3. Yes. Right. So that's why I'm like, really? Gears? I know it's not open world, but it has open areas, and even in those open areas, it's 60 frames per second. So I don't quite understand that. But that's just a little knock on it as far as from the console part of it. As far as everything else. So I think visually it's still pretty strong, but I think what I like the most is the improvements, like Tim said, in the gameplay. I went with the Beastmaster, which 90% of the gamers are going with. Yep. So now I feel like a loser. I should have gone outside of them. But I really enjoy the character. His personality isn't like hilarious, but he throws out little lines every once in a while, are kind of funny.
Sometimes he makes fun of his little beasts. I had that one little monster following behind me, and all of a sudden you could hear it kind of throw up, and he goes, "Whoa, when did you eat that?" Like little things like that were just in the middle of it.
He does talk to who are you using? Like, what animal are you using?
So I've tried all three of the ones you start out with. The main one I'm using is the kind of has that giant bug look to it. It just rams the enemies.
So it's the spider or whatever?
One. Yeah, I'm trying that one.
Yeah, I'm using just the monkey with a gun. I mean, who doesn't want a monkey with a gun?
Monkey with a gun? I'm sold. I'm buying this right now.
Dude,
you should. If you buy it on the PS4, I'll buy it on
By the way, I will say this. The intro, where it introduces the 4 classes you get to choose from, it's pretty awesome. Like, it makes each of them look legitimately cool and fun to use. So, right away, more so even than the previous games, I thought, I actually want to try all of these. I wanted to try Beastmaster first, because it's the most unique for the series, I think. Mm-hmm. But I definitely want to try the other ones too. They did a good job of introducing them and kind of giving you a little cutscene of what they could look like in battle. So, and it's all very standard stuff at the beginning. Here's a very crappy pistol for your first couple fights, and you die really quickly because you have to go find a shield. Okay, now you've got your regenerating shield, and then you'll finally get a little bit better weapons. Your first little mini boss fight, and then you get and then you finally get to unlock you go to level 2, and you get to unlock your main class abilities right out of the gate. So I think it does a good job, I think, of easing you into it yet again. But for those of you who have played Borderlands 1 and 2, it's going to feel very familiar. Like, there's not a whole lot of super unique experiences happening, at least not in the first few hours that I've played.
Oh no! So if Tim's reviewing it, what is he gonna say? His knock is it feels like a Borderlands game.
It feels like Borderlands.
I don't understand how Borderlands 3 could feel like.
I will say this: that is exactly what I wanted out of this, and the more that they do that's different, that's great. Let me try some different stuff. The classes alone, I think, make the game totally feel like a different experience, in my opinion. But overall, I'm very happy overall with what they've
Overall, I'm happy. Like, so far, I'm going to say this. I'm a level 14. This is my game of the year. It's past everything else, and I haven't even beat the game. It's not based off the story, so I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, the Children of the Vault didn't win? I'm out. Like, no, I'm going to play it through. I'm going to enjoy the story or whatever, and it's got a decent story. Oh my god, it has a Borderlands story. It's because it's kind of set in the universe.
Can we agree that the decision to put a live actress on that screen when Lilith is talking to you,
I don't understand that.
Looks really bad.
I don't understand why they do that. They did it with the other ones, though.
There's a live actress?
Yeah, so like
just for that.
Like Control? Kind of like Control?
Yeah, sort of. Yep, and then it jumps to a
Okay.
live action version of that character, and you're like, "Why are you doing this?" Plus, she looks like she's
But that's even more
she looks like she's
disorienting
aged a
because
little bit,
the art
and so
style.
she just doesn't look the same as the
Yeah.
character on the game. It's just
Yeah, that would be my biggest issue.
Oh,
is
wait,
the
so you're
person that they
what's
filmed
her
doesn't look like the person in the game.
what's her face from the second one? That's who she's
Lilith.
portraying.
Lilith.
Lilith,
Yeah,
Lilith,
the
yeah,
Red Hawk.
the one with the powers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
so she's in the
That
game.
makes
and you see
no
her,
sense.
Like, in the game world, fully animated like other characters, but when she talks to you, she kind of
Yeah.
takes over the screen and is giving you a message. You can hear her voice, and then you just see the live actress version of her making like expressions as the
It's
voice. is
kind of-
talking. It's totally useless.
Yeah, it's what they did in the first two. The first two, they always had somebody talking in your head, and then they would use a real actress.
And I don't know why.
But
Did
I don't
they?
They
understand.
did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
By the way, did you guys
I
see
did
this?
not.
I got this shirt too.
What?
This one's cooler.
that's
Borderlands 3. That's the Borderlands 3. It's like a sweatshirt.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
Not
pretty
that
cool.
you'll ever
Solid.
So I got
choice.
both of them
Sweatshirts in
for
Florida.
$16 a piece. I'll
Send that to
find
one
a
of
way
us.
to wear it.
We actually get winters up here. Send it to one of us.
It's real. Like, come on. These are
I'll
like
just go down
$2
there.
shirts that they charge. They're like, that sweatshirt was $25, but it's not like a real sweater. It's real thin. It's just long sleeve, and I only paid $16 for it, and then I paid $16 for this. So I was like, okay, that's not bad for the shirts, but they're not high quality as far as like how the shirts.
Yeah, we got thicker, more expensive sweaters up here. So
Oh yeah. They definitely overcharge, but because it's Borderlands, and I've been wanting for a while, I've been going on like Amazon, like Borderlands 3 shirt, Borderlands. I'm like, I'm totally a nerd. I want to buy a shirt. So once I walked in the store and saw it, I was like, yeah, I gotta get it. I'm not at all disappointed by this game. I'm addicted to it. It's what I want. It's super fun. I do have disappointments though, and that would be the graphics. That's minor, and that can be fixed by me playing on PC. But the other thing is, or I shouldn't say graphics, the resolution. And then the other thing is I really wanted a true open world Borderlands 3, and I don't quite understand why they didn't do that. Like, I wanted it to feel more open, and I think they could have made some changes on how you interact with the story and side quests and stuff. Instead of just walking over to a character, talking to him for a second just to get a quest.
I don't really mind the open
Like,
areas structure of it, especially having just played Rage 2 this year, where we did get a true open world kind of post-apocalyptic.
But they
craziness.
didn't do anything with
No.
it. This, they could do something with.
They
But
could.
Derek, you love Dragon Age Inquisition, and that's exactly the same thing.
Yes, but Inquisition is more open and more filled with well, I can't say that because I've been to 3 different areas in
There's a lot to
Borderlands
do.
3, and they definitely change. Well, they change up how
Yeah.
it looks, like drastically. But I will say, and yes, I agree, Inquisition does the same thing. But I really wanted, like, even when you're going to another planet, I wanted, like, because Andromeda does it too. Andromeda's not truly open world. They take you to a planet and then they open it up. But I wanted it to be a little more open. I feel like these areas are, like, real linear, and then they just open in, like, the certain section, and then they go back to linear. You don't understand what I'm saying? And the whole point is just to drive your car through them. It's not really about exploring it. Even with Andromeda and Inquisition, I was always exploring the world. This is not really about exploring. It's about going, grabbing a mission, going to wherever that checkpoint tells you to go, or whatever the mission point tells you to go. Go there, do what you got to do, and then go back and do it. Does that make sense? It's less about, like, exploring the Borderlands and just going, oh, crap, I had no idea this cave was here. What's in it? It's not like that. Does it have to be that?
But that's
No,
one
I'm
way
not
that
saying
you'd
it, 'cause
like
that
to
would
see
change.
them take the series.
I would love for them to make
That's
that
fair.
subtle change
That's
and be
fair.
like, hey, guys, we've created these many planets you're going to go to, but they're going to be real open and free, and we're not going to tell you what's in everything. There's going to be stuff you can just
Eric
explore
wants
and find
No
out.
Man Borderlands. That's what he wants.
Yes, I do.
To be honest, I feel like considering that game exists now, like, I don't know if maybe just the tech is because it's, like, not as detailed. I mean, the game's not ugly, but why can't games just do that? Like, these games where, like, space is involved, like, you're going to planets, like, so in Borderlands 3, do you get in a ship and actually fly to a planet, or does it just load up to another planet?
Well, you're in a ship, but it just like shows it like quickly flying there.
As far as I know, you don't do any space travel or combat. Like you're not controlling the space movement. As far as I know.
No. It's just you're on a ship. I mean, I don't want to spoil things. Not that it's a huge spoiler, but your whole goal is to get on this ship and then travel from planet to planet.
I hear what you're saying, Daniel. Even stuff
objectives.
like Starlink, which was, I still think, a pretty underappreciated game. Even stuff like Starlink lets you jump in and out of these different planets and fly right into space. Just aim at the atmosphere and fly out of there.
Like, what's the new Ubisoft game? Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like, the things that they're doing in that game are insane. So, like, what's your excuse, guys? Like, if you're going to do space type of environments and you're going from planet to planet, I don't know.
I'll tell you what I think they spent all their time on for this game, and I think they've hit a home run with it, and I think it's the guns. The loot and the guns.
Yeah,
they have absolutely knocked it out of the park. Shooting still feels great. I think it actually feels better. The gun variety is instant. I thought it was instantly noticeable, like all the different varieties. And the other games already had a ton of variety. But I'm already seeing these loot drops that are just, it gets really wacky and crazy, and I'm like, oh, what does this one do? That's a weird thing to see on the site. I have no idea what this does yet. Let me just go shoot something and see what happens. So I love that. I love the way that they've done the weapon system in this. And so I'm okay with it being open area and not having the free space travel necessarily. The one big gripe that I do have is I do think visually they had space to maintain the beloved art style of Borderlands and really improve it, and I just don't think they did visually. But gameplay-wise, which to me is way more important, I think they've knocked it out of the park, and I'm really, really loving it so far.
Considering the guns is always the thing that they mainly would advertise across all the games, bajillion guns, then that's something that they should nail probably first and foremost. So.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, even though I have my things that I want, if you really look at what Borderlands is, all it is Diablo, just as a first-person shooter. And that's why I don't think they get so hooked on doing what I want them to do. I think they're like, hey, let's just stick to this being a fun first-person shooter that's all about the loop of getting loot. And yes, we'll have this crazy, zany story with crazy characters that make you laugh with their little one-liners, and they do. They do a pretty good job with just saying stupid stuff. Like, Claptrap is an idiot. He's still really dumb.
He's funny.
But his stupidity makes me laugh every single time. But I would say, I think they understand that's what they are. What I would like to see them do, especially since for some dumb reason, I have no idea why it took them so long to release Borderlands 3, is if they're going to continue this franchise, which it would be really stupid if they didn't. But hey, I don't trust... What's his name? Pritchford or whatever. He's an idiot.
Randy Pitchford?
Yeah, Pitchford. I don't trust him. But
were you just combining Prick and Pitchford?
Pritchford?
But if they're going to continue doing this franchise, release it faster. And I do think now that you've released Borderlands 3, people love it, reviews love it, but they've all said the same thing. And that's, hey guys, it's Borderlands. Which I agree, it is Borderlands, but I am not going to complain about that. I would just like to see some changes, especially when you see like Gears of War 5 and all them doing that. You would like to see a franchise that has 3 or 4 games in to start to make some more than just improvements, which is what they did. They made a lot of improvements. Like, there's still some menus issues. Like, I think like getting to the map is retarded. Like, to me, it should be a one-button thing. It's really dumb. It's really dumb. Like, you have to hit the select button, and then you have to tab over to the map instead of just using, like, the analog or something across just to go, no, I want to look up the map real quick. And the other thing is they don't, unless I've missed it, is maybe you have to set the waypoints. I never did. But whenever I pick a mission, it'll have a waypoint, but it doesn't tell me how to get there. But I haven't actually set a waypoint. Maybe if I set a waypoint, maybe it'll put a track to show me how to get there. Because I'm always going back and forth with the map because the maps are confusing. Like, you'll have the waypoint in the top left, but really in order to get there, you have to go to the right and go north and then turn and come back. Because if you turn left right away, you just run into a wall.
But that's like kind of bad design as far as the environment goes.
But I'm not saying 100% sure if that's on me for not setting waypoints. I actually need to check.
Yeah.
Because if you because I'm thinking Borderlands 2 had that. If you set a waypoint, that it would actually have like a path that you.
But doesn't that become a little less important?
I can't remember.
You don't actually have an open world, and it is just open area. It's just a matter of getting to the right area, and
Yeah, but my point I'm making is it's an open area. So if they're telling me to drive really far away, but on the map, the little mini map you see, you just see that it's somewhere to the left, but you can't see the full map. If you just drive to the left, you're going to hit walls. Because a lot of the way that the world's designed is there's a lot of things blocking you.
Yeah.
And so the example I was using is you might actually have to drive to the north and to the right 5 miles, then take a left, come down, go back up, because that's how they've designed
by the way,
the map.
I have heard that
it's not
by
open.
default, that's what a game like Ghost Recon Breakpoint's going to do, where they won't actually give you... They might not even drop the pins on the map for you. You have to actually follow the clues that characters give you to track down certain things or certain characters.
Jeez.
But that's completely optional. You can go into the options and say, nope, give me stupid baby mode and give me waypoints and directions.
I thought they did that on the last one, or they did that with another game where you had the option of realistic, where you have to actually figure everything out.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that cute little baby. Talk, little boy.
Please tell us about Borderlands.
Say hi.
Do not kiss the microphone.
It's not food. It's not food.
He's way too cute to be Tim's son.
Say hi.
Look
well, Tim was saying Tim was saying earlier his wife's the pretty one.
Hello. Are you the cutest little thing I've ever seen? Yes, you are.
Are you talking to Tim?
I'm going to Colorado to see that little guy. Gosh, I gotta hug him.
His name is Griffin.
Oh, hi,
Griffin. That's a BA name,
isn't it?
I'm abbreviating.
There's Griffin armor. Oh my gosh, really? Thanks, Daniel. Is that Griffin armor he's wearing right now?
Yes. Yeah, he's from the school, the Griffin School of Witcher.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and he picks his
stop picking your nose.
Griffin
That's rude, bro.
He's picking his nose. What did you find?
It's all right.
What did you find? Anything good?
He's like,
that's part of his
sweet
training.
Loot right there.
I think he's just wondering why Daddy's talking to two strange men in his bedroom alone.
That sounds about right.
That's a fair question.
Welcome to 2019, kid.
It's a fair question. Yeah. All right. Well, I need to get signed off.
Yep.
Overall,
I need to get back to Borderlands 3.
Overall, I really enjoy Borderlands 3, and if anyone's wondering, it sounds like it's got Derek's too. I think we would give it our recommendation, especially if you like the previous ones. It's improved in some good ways, and it's a lot more of the stuff you love about Borderlands. And
it's definitely improved in the gameplay area, and that's, I think, the most important thing. Is the game fun to play? Absolutely. Is it 100% worth all the money? Yes. Is it worth the wait? So far to me, yeah. I just want to keep playing it.
And there's so much game there. I mean, there's tons to do. It's a massive game. So.
And it sounds like it's going to have a lot of end-game stuff. I have not done any research on it because I kind of like to go into this stuff blind now. But
yeah, we don't do that kind of stuff around here. Research. It's not our thing.
Hey,
but I think there's some end-game stuff. Plus, I bought the $100 version, so we got the season pass. We got all that stuff.
There you go.
So yeah, get it, Daniel, on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Hey Tim, do you want to know what the similarity between Derek and Claptrap is?
Yes.
Claptrap, that's his name, but Derek has the clap because he's a floozy. So
I hate you, Daniel, and that was retarded.
Just
end the show, Tim.
That's the third time you said that today, which typically I don't really care, but I think Daniel really doesn't like that. I think he's getting triggered.
What is it?
Say it.
What, retarded?
Yeah, that's 4.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Just as you probably also hate indigenous people, right? You just hate the indigenous people.
It's true.
I'm gonna join Colin. I'm gonna join Colin's group just so I can see that post. I want to.
That's weird that someone from his group would say that, but whatever.
But that's why Derek's playing Greedfall, because he wants to just tear down the indigenous people. Just really ruin their lives.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for taking time tonight. Appreciate it, and we will connect again next week to talk. I know I'm gonna be talking about Legend of Zelda, and we'll see what else we get into.
Yeah, I'll be talking about Zelda. Yeah. I might even pick up the new Switch, by the way. The Lite. Switch Lite.
Nerd.
Oh, that comes out this week?
Comes out the day that Zelda comes out.
Yeah, that's this week too. Nice.
Well, I'm gonna play mine on the regular Switch, so.
Yeah, why don't you get an Xbox and then I'll buy you Borderlands on the Xbox. So that's $60 off your Xbox purchase right there.
Excellent.
How about you buy me a high-end PC and I just play those games on PC?
How about
So I don't have to play an Xbox.
Oh my gosh, you are
Yep.
trash.
All
So the budget is
We're gonna go.
the budget is
before we
$3,000.
Come up with more dumb ideas. We're gonna go. We're gonna go.
$3,000 budget. Just so you know.
Stop. And now.
Daniel, have a good night.
Okay.
Derek, have a good night. Peace.
Good night, guys.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?